This one, that hole was made by a 7.62 machine gun and it flew home.
Dealing with drones, as Defence confirms a plague of unidentified flights above RAAF bases, industry insiders tell us drones are now a critical danger for us all.
Do we want to wait until we see an airliner go down?
The issue? What does our military need to properly defend against and use drones? And how do governments deal with risks from rocketing drone numbers? Hello, welcome to The Issue. I'm Tim Lester. Defence figures have now emerged that show unexplained drone flights above RAAF's Williamtown fighter jet base were not the rarity first thought. 147 similar sightings in the 24-25 year alone. Today, 3 people with deep drone expertise tackle the issue. One has expertise on the lessons from the Ukraine war. But first, 2 Australian CEOs, Ben Westgarth from Department 13, which makes equipment to detect and track drones, and Justin Olde, Chief of Boresight, which builds drones specifically for testing systems that defend against drone attacks.
Ben Westgarth, Justin Olde, thank you for speaking with Seven's The Issue. What strikes you about last month's Williamtown incident?
I think it was preventable. The technology exists, the systems exist in Australia by Australian sovereign companies to be able to detect and mitigate threats like that.
Did it surprise you?
No. We have systems around at the moment that detect and track drones across areas of national security, and they are constantly being flown into through the airspace incursions on a much greater frequency than people realise. We're tracking drones in places like prisons, around critical infrastructure, high destination tourist spots. We see in the Sydney area tens of thousands of drones flights per month. We see around airports drones frequently flying right into the paths of planes, or not necessarily straight into the path of a plane, but right into the flight path that is an absolute no-fly zone, and we see that a lot.
What kind of airports? I mean, are we talking about small regional centres?
We're talking about all of them. We're talking about the major international airports.
Sydney Airport?
Yes.
Tullamarine, Melbourne?
Yes.
How often are you seeing drones in those spaces?
On a weekly basis.
This sounds like a plague of drone misuse.
I wouldn't say you're wrong. I mean, the majority of drone flights that we track in places like Sydney are illegal. They fly over no-fly zones. They fly over crowded spaces.
How many a week?
Thousands.
In Sydney?
Yeah. In one small part of Sydney.
Which part of Sydney?
It's around the CBD kind of area, around the harbour.
Right in the middle.
It is completely illegal to fly them there.
But they come anyway?
Yes. There is very little safeguard built into a drone to stop the drone from being used in a way that it shouldn't be used.
How dangerous then are they becoming?
I mean, Justin might be able to shed a little bit more light on this, but, you know, sometimes they get likened to a bird strike or something. So a small object gets sucked into an engine. The big difference between a bird, which we've had to deal with for a very, very long time, is that birds don't have lithium polymer batteries that tend to explode when they get damaged.
Bird strikes have brought commercial jet liners down. They're serious.
Yeah, and I would prefer to hit a bird every day before I would hit a drone.
Right. So how long before we have a serious accident around one of our airports because of rogue drone flights?
I think it's a matter of luck, really. I mean, if the detections are as frequent and as the volume is there that Ben is picking up, it's a case of when, not if. I think.
That's scary, right?
It is scary. I think there's already been incidents where aircraft and drones have been too close that have been reported. In many cases, the pilot doesn't know that it's there. So understanding where they are, being able to see them and track them is of absolute importance. And I think we're lucky so far that no one has deliberately put one in the path of an aircraft. Because then you're talking about deliberate activity, and if someone wanted to do it, it could be disastrous.
But the way you guys are talking about it, this is a matter of time.
I think there's a probability element here that a lot of people are flying these drones in places they know they shouldn't be flying them, with probably not as much control as they think they have over them. And I do believe that at some point in time, as drones continue to grow in how they're used, if we do not have a solution to stop it, it probably is a matter of time. And we're not talking about just at airports either and things like that. We're contacted by a primary school recently who had drones flying by to hovering around the school doing God knows what. We have cases of partners pursuing their ex-partners in domestic abuse cases. We have drones scoping suburbs to later on come and burgle all the houses that weren't home at the time. The uses for nefarious purposes are growing all the time, and there's really not that much. I was going to say there's not much that can be done. That's not true. There's plenty that can be done. It's just not getting done.
Who needs to do what, Ben?
I think we need a national security approach because there's two things here. There's the defence and then there's the commercial national security sector, but they are very, very closely linked. And I think we need to start taking some action on with technology that's been around for a long time. That is not, as Justin alluded to it earlier, it's not expensive. It's not difficult to do. It's not highly costly. It's just, it's sitting there in the wings. It's made by Australian companies. It's ready to deploy. We just need to press the go button.
Justin Olde says the threat is not just about the sheer numbers of drones and risks from inept operators. He fears they will put way too much power in dangerous hands. As you'll see, he also has a sobering demonstration for those who reckon it's easy to shoot down drones.
I'm a former tank commander. I grew up operating heavy armour, avoiding the threats, learning how to avoid the threats that heavy armour had to deal with, which was generally other heavy armour, other tanks, and anti-tank guided missiles. A drone is an anti-tank guided missile that you can buy at JB Hi-Fi. If you look at what's happening, once again, using the Ukraine-Russian war as an example, most of the drones that are being used in that conflict are built out of eBay bits. So somebody's buying the bits and pieces on eBay. The one ingredient that isn't readily available in Australia is the bomb. Now, if you're clever enough or you have the resources, that bit can be made available. That's the only missing ingredient. And then you can create serious damage with an explosive-laden drone. Now, that's before we just talk about taking a big drone that's covered in ball bearings and flying it into the path of an aircraft. That could also be equally damaging. So the mechanisms are there. The understanding that the threat is there exists. The fact that we're having this chat now means that somebody's talking about it. How well prepared that Australia is as a country to mitigate that threat, probably not well enough. In fact, I'd say definitely not well enough. But yes, you're right. We have an interest in it. We want to see everybody train on drones, and Ben wants to see everybody have counter-drone capabilities, drone detection capabilities out there. But I don't think we're scaremongering. And I really hope that we don't get proven right by means of a disaster.
Ben, how great's the threat?
I think it's high. I think the high. If we think about classifying a threat as what is possible, not what is likely, then I would say the opportunity for threat is really, really high. They are incredibly capable devices that you can fly out of sight, tens of kilometres if you wanted to, away from your location. You can carry things on them. You can have high-resolution cameras and microphones. There's never been a device like it. Just read the numbers. Thousands of flights a day over public areas, thousands of flights coming into sporting events, concerts, drones being used to plan attacks on the US White House, drones flying over the Williamtown RAAF base, drones requiring aircraft to be landed in the middle of bushfires. For every industry, there is a reason why these drones are causing a problem, and that is because there is an acknowledgement that the risk of something going really bad is very, very high.
We see a lot of people trying to learn how to kill a drone by shooting them with shotguns and things like that. So I can show you, this is a tough device. This one, that hole was made by a 7.62 machine gun, and it flew home.
It came back.
It came back. And if you're thinking that you can shoot clay pigeons and you've got a counter-drone capability, then this is easy. And so if you've shot a lot of clay pigeons and you think you can kill drones, well, you're wrong.
All of this comes as drones profoundly change war in sad, terrifying ways. A drone Ukraine's president claims was Russian harassed this southern Ukrainian street vendor before trying to kill him. The man survived with multiple shrapnel wounds, concussion and trauma.
It tells us that whoever that drone operator was clearly indiscriminate. Unless they had something personal against a fruit shop owner, my guess was it was a drone that had been hunting bad guys, and he was getting low on battery and he needed to kill someone with it.
How sad is that?
And that's what it's come to.
And drones are changing war in big ways.
It's hard to overstate how big an effect this technology has had. It is like no other at the price, and if you factor in the price point, it's just, it can't compare.
Ukrainian-born Australian aviation academic Oleksandra Molloy has written a benchmark piece on what Ukraine's long fight with attacking Russian forces reveals about the impact of the drone. Some of the numbers here are extraordinary.
Dr. Oleksandra Molloy, thank you for speaking with The Issue. How profound has the drone been in its role in the Ukraine war?
First of all, thank you so much for having me on, and it's a great pleasure to contribute to this important conversation. So, in terms of the drone in the war in Ukraine, I would call it one of the symbols that has shaped the way how the modern warfare is being fought. Its role has expanded for the last almost 5 years from a simple observer in the sky to an active combatant. We can talk about eyes in the skies, ears as well. And it is already one of those elements that not only help with intelligence, surveillance and reconnaissance missions, but it has spanned abroad all levels of war: tactical, operational, strategic.
It's become a weapon for Russia as well as for Ukraine. Who's benefited most from the drone in the conflict?
That's correct. So both Russia and Ukraine are using these systems in millions, and I think that is important to highlight. So neither of the sides, Ukraine or Russia, rejected the systems just because there are some better or more advanced technologies. But Ukraine has been better utilizing them in terms of asymmetric response to a numerical threat of Russian forces. And Ukraine is using this tool as one of the most influential and impactful in terms of their collateral damage, in terms of the damage on the battlefield.
Give us an idea of, with the numbers, as to how drone use has changed across the war.
Right. So if we compare to 2022, 2023, when the systems were just emerging, so most of the battlefield damage came from the traditional military assets, of course, our artillery and major air power, so different missiles and strikes. But with the development of the systems, and the ability to attach different types of ammunition on drones, this has become quite a substantial damage to military materiel. So, for example, up to 60 to 70% of all equipment or military assets on the battlefield are destroyed by drones. And up to 80 to 90% of the personnel either injured or killed by drones. So we can think, whether or not they matter, but looking at the statistics and the way and the speed, how they have accelerated to a number of roles, that really shows us that its impact is significant and that they are there to stay. They are present in every mission on the battlefield, and no soldier will go on a mission without a drone leading the way.
How might AI increase the efficacy of drones?
It will definitely present a higher threat by the scale and the speed of the operations. And this is one of the most significant developments that we need to think about, because AI can make decisions faster than a human can do. And if those aspects are integrated in any autonomous system or weapon or drone, that really helps to shorten the cycle from detection to decision, but also from decision to action. And I believe that the artificial intelligence will play a role in the issue of mass. And when I say mass, it's not necessarily only number of drones, but when we think about the swarm of drones, collected number of drones working together towards achieving a specific missions. And this could be not just 10 or hundreds, it could be thousands of systems that we need to counter.
Real swarms of drones in a military context.
Yes, this is correct. So current battlefield since last year has been reportedly demonstrating that that swarm of drones were already operating on the Ukrainian battlefield by Ukrainian companies, and various missions, including, mining, demining, or intelligence surveillance, or even strikes, logistics, and many, many other missions that were already successfully performed by swarm of drones.
So how well's Australia doing at that? How well is our military doing at taking the lessons of the Ukraine war with drones and applying them to our forces?
I believe that there are many different ways where Australian government and ADF are looking into these systems and observing the lessons. The key question, however, is whether the actions and processes have been implemented and how fast we can move to implement, and not only in terms of just drone technology as such, in terms of capability, but more so in terms of the processes behind it, the workforce who can operate that, the training, the legislation, regulation, many, many other aspects, because technology itself, it's only one way and one puzzle. And also there is quite substantial time takes from announcements to implementation, from defense strategic review, investing millions and billions of dollars into exquisite systems, to not underestimating their low and cheap expensive systems. So I believe that there are some efforts underway, and there are multiple programs and projects that help Australia to learn those lessons. But having said though, 5 years in the war in Ukraine, I don't think we have any squads in drones and counter drones yet.
All of this as Australia pursues nuclear submarines at an estimated cost of hundreds of billions of dollars. Defence is an area of eye-watering costs, where drones are often by comparison stunningly cheap.
Are we preparing our military for the wrong war here?
That's an excellent question to address, and I think for a long time we potentially have been learning about the previous wars and the experience that we've had in the past. So far we have quite a narrow vision on expensive technologies that take time to develop and not enough of balance to other systems and not at speed. We're gonna get moving towards the drone changes and drone preparation, not only in technology itself, but also the way to defend against it at the airports, at the military bases, critical infrastructure, but also cities and people of Australia.
You would have heard of the fuss this week around revelations that last month some small number of drones was spotted around the RAAF Williamtown base. What strikes you about that revelation?
I want to say that I'm surprised, but I'm not, because for a long time over Europe, US and other countries, we've seen a number of mysterious drones flying over installations and military bases and airports, and I think for long we've been observing these issues. However, having said that, not only a few drones over a military base in July that should be a concern, but the increased number of these systems flying over military bases that increased 7 times since the last 2 to 3 years. Not only 2, 3, 5, 7 drones, it's more than 150 drones for the last 1 or 2 years flying over military bases, airports, and it's quite concerning that there is a lack of action towards not necessarily destroying them, but any measures and countermeasures to provide that response. How do we deal with this? Who is behind it? What is the intent? And to really ensure and let our people of Australia know that we have processes in place.
Does it surprise you that these systems weren't attacked in some way by our military?
I believe it's up to the ADF to decide which measures and countermeasures they took and probably may have been taken, but public needs to know about that. So I think what's surprising is that we just don't learn fast enough, and any object under or above a military base should be destroyed, and this would provide actually more answers who is behind, and that forensic exploitation will give precise information about those drones.
It should have been shot down?
Look, so out of 147 drones, I think at least one should have been shot down.
I'm Tim Lester. This has been The Issue. You can listen to us on Listener or other podcast apps, watch on YouTube, or catch some of the sharpest comments on 7 News. Follow us where you can and join us next time for a new issue and a new guest with some answers for us. Till then, all the best.